Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's Breakfast All Day. It's Christy, it's Alonso, and premiering this week on HBO Max, a prize winner from the 2020 Sunday, South by Southwest, 2021.
Time is a flat circle.
And it's all a blur now. Anyway, South by Southwest winner, The Fallout, and Christy's going to tell us what it's about.
Well, indeed, this is the feature filmmaking debut from Megan Park, an actress turned filmmaker. She's done several shorts and videos prior to this. This is her first feature. She wrote and directed it. Jenna Ortega and Maddie Ziegler are two very different girls at what looks like a sort of suburban California high school. And they happen to both be in the girls' bathroom at the same time when they hear shots fired in the school, and they both clamber into a bathroom stall and they ride it out together, and you are with them in the intimacy and the horror that they are experiencing. And then a third kid comes in and joins them. A boy comes in, and the movie is about how they specifically, and this community in general, rebound from this, if such a thing is possible, how they're experiencing the fallout from this event. Jenna Ortega, who was just in Scream a couple weeks ago, plays this kind of like tough, badass kind of outsider chick, but clearly there is more innocence and vulnerability to her. John Ortiz and Julie Bowen play her parents, and she's got a little sister who very much looks up to her. And Maddie Ziegler is the total opposite. She's like beautiful, glamorous. She's got this huge Instagram following. She's a dancer, and she's really lonely, despite how glamorous and awesome her life might seem. Like, her dads aren't around. She's got no friends really. And so it's how they bond. And I was really taken by how powerful it is in its understatement, and how Megan Park just lets the inherent drama of these kids experiencing this just play for itself, and just the quiet power of just the two of them, these two friends who would seem unlikely allies and more, texting each other, and how they fall asleep with their phones or their laptops open because they don't want to be alone. And I was just really touched by that connection. There's a really fantastically powerful, efficient shot in here where Jenna Ortega's character goes to the memorial for one of the many victims of this high school shooting. And the camera just holds on this box, like this keepsake box she has. And she places one of the programs from the first memorial. And then you see another and another and another. And you see it's like one kid is Jewish, one kid is Christian, and one kid is Black. And just
the stack that forms.
Yeah, the stack that forms. And it's a really simple but very powerful image to convey the trauma that she's going through and what so many kids in this country have gone through. So while the topic may sound very much like preachy, eat your vegetables, it's done with such truth and such honesty, and really fantastic performances from both of these young actresses. I really was taken by it.
Yeah, I mean, the tragedy of the ongoing crisis in this country when it comes to guns in schools and mass shootings, in addition, obviously, to the horror of the events themselves and the impact it has on people, is that to the outside observer, it's very easy to be like, oh, that's terrible, and then to move past it because nothing ever seems to happen. Even like, after Parkland, and those kids were like so media savvy and really like getting a lot of, airtime and talking about this problem, you didn't seem to move the needle on like, gun stuff. And it's hard to absorb the horror of it if you weren't there, because there's always another one and another one and another one and another one. Like, days will go by and it happens all over again. And so this movie stops and soaks in the one that happened, and how it ripples out. How does it affect the parents? How does it affect the kids who survived? How does it affect the kids who survived but maybe their siblings didn't? How does it affect the teachers? Like there's all these different levels of things to explore, and the movie explores them and gives them the space to play out, and in a very non-hysterical way. like the lead character has nightmares about the incident, but you don't see them. You just see her like springing awake. And when she talks to Maddie Ziegler about it, and she's like, well, you have to sleep to have nightmares. So like that, and that just tells you everything that's going on with her. Like this movie's really, I agree with you. I admire the restraint of it all, but it's so dramatically powerful. And, it just, it just gives some space to people who have to deal with these horrible things that we hear about on the news and we're upset about for a while. And then we just, for our own sanity, like don't dwell on them and move on. And these are the folks who can't move on from that, and they have to process it and they have to figure it out. Some really great therapy scenes, I thought, with involving a therapist played by
Shailene Woodley.
Shailene Woodley, thank you. Her name flew out of my head. That just seemed very like the lead character is so smart. Like it's you can tell just from an early scene in class where she's like asking the really good questions, but also the way that she's somebody who uses her intelligence to deflect, like, and she thinks that if she doesn't let her emotions get the better of her, then that's okay, and she's won, and that's not going to bring her down. But obviously she's just like trying to push him further back, and they're going to come roaring out at one point or other anyway. And even when that happens, it happens in a way that felt very, humane and observed, and not like, showy and exploitative.
Yeah, no, Jenna Ortega is really good in this. And and you're right with those therapy scenes. Like she does that thing where she tries to outsmart her therapist and just like have the snappy one-liner, and she's just like pushing down her emotions the whole time, but that she's going to have to explode. They also touched on something that a lot of films about young people do, but they do this in a way that feels wise and true. And that is, the disparity between the social media presence and who these kids really are. Because who Maddie Ziegler puts herself out to be as this like badass, sexy dancer is not at all who she is in real life. And that difference is very interesting. Will Ropp plays Jenna Ortega's best friend, who becomes sort of the David Hogg figure here. You're mentioning Parkland and how media savvy those kids became. And David Hogg in particular really became he chose to become the face of this in a lot of ways, and to go speak to Congress and to do all the media hits. And so that's this kid, and that's how he is coping. He feels like he has to do something active, and it's exhausting for him too. And that feels honest as well. Niles Fitch is very good as one of the other kids who becomes a good friend through this. The bonds that form, the unexpected bonds that form through shared trauma, I found quite moving. And Lumi Pollock is really good as Jenna Ortega's little sister.
Yes.
Who experiences trauma in her own way too.
Of course. Yeah. And I think what's interesting is like so much of what this movie does plays upon familiar teen tropes, but just for teen tropes that aren't necessarily trauma based. The idea of the golden girl, the popular, like, untouchable, gorgeous, terrifying girl who turns out to be something else entirely, and who is all facade and is very kind of like sheltered and quiet and maybe even a little broken inside. We've seen that in movies before. We've seen people from different, the Breakfast Club formula, people from cliques who would never like intersect suddenly getting thrown into an extreme situation and having to sort of like find this common ground and discover who they really are and that kind of thing. But it's doing it in this larger sense of this ongoing situation in this country. And I think it does so, without, it never feels glib about it, and it never feels like we've got all the answers for you. It's like, no, what we have is, how are these individual people going to figure out how they feel about it and how they're going to move past this, even though they have the burden of having endured it,
And the last shot shows you that we don't have things figured out. So Alonso, why is your number so low?
The more we talk about it, I was too low. I'm going to say 7.
Okay, I'm saying 8. So our number is 7.5. The Fallout is on HBO Max right now. It's very good. But why is your number only a 7 then? Like what you're holding back on?
I think there's kind of an intangible here where I felt like so much of what we get out of these characters is based directly in how they're responding to this event. And I would have liked just maybe a little more sense of who they were before the event. You get a little bit of that, but I think it would at least give you some idea of like where they started, where they are now, and where they're going to wind up. And I think that we're missing a little much of that first part for me.
Okay. So 7.5 is our number. The Fallout is on HBO Max right now.
Yes, check it out. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at Be Fast All Day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And hey, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're currently doing a whole bunch of great TV recaps. We're talking about Boba Fett and Peacemaker and Gilded Age. We got Pam and Tommy coming up. Lots of other cool things that only our subscribers get, including videos like this with no commercial interruption. So become a subscriber today at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We'll see you next time. Bye.